What's up, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. We're back with On the Ball. We're right after the Super Bowl. Good weekend for some, I guess, if you're a Seahawks fan. Yes, I'm still rocking the Patriots jersey. Yes, I still showed up even though we lost. I could have, made up some excuse not to be on here. As you can see, I'm blaming Taylor Swift since everybody else does when they lose. So that's what I'm going with today. No, but seriously, it was a fun game. I feel like if you are a big proponent of defense and the resurrection of the running game, it was a game for you. Kenneth Walker wins MVP. We'll talk about his performance here in a little bit. Sam Darnold gets that elusive Super Bowl ring. Mike McDonald gets his first. A couple of years after leaving Baltimore. Like there's a lot of kind of good stories. Cooper Kupp gets another ring. JSN, great season, caps it off with a Super Bowl ring. And the defense. We definitely will talk about the Seahawks defense, and then we'll do some New England discussion as well. But it's also the first show since the trade deadline, so we're going to talk about that as well. I mean, even though by now a lot of the new faces have played in their new place, we'll talk about some of the fits and everything like that. So before we get into the discussion, upper right, we got Ian, Giants fan. I mean, you're on to the draft now. Just like everybody else, we're all into the off season. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right, love to hear it. Upper left, we got not Garden 2, he's Garden 3. The Packers off season. I think they're an interesting team to watch. Plus, your Bucks got Cam Thomas, championship. That's all I'm hearing. Giannis has a piece to work with now. Now he'll probably put up like 30 shots a game if you don't stop him, but at least you got somebody. But yeah, how are you doing?
It's going to be some really ugly Bucks basketball in the months ahead, but I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to the off season. And hey, I wouldn't go blaming Taylor Swift too much. I put you in the same category as Ravens fans. I don't know if that's a boat you want to be in.
I don't actually do it. I just need something to put there. Yeah, come on, that one. I can fully understand what happened last night, and trust me, I'm giving all the credit to Seattle. So let's start there. That is the big topic of the sports world. Seattle Seahawks win 29-13. They sack Drake May 6 times. They get a pick 6 from Debuso with great reaction speed off of a strip sack, I guess. He catches it in the air. He runs it back. Kenneth Walker, MVP, 27 carries, 135 yards. He would have had more, but that last touchdown run was called back because of a holding penalty. So we'll start there. Any problems with Kenneth Walker winning MVP? Because I know the way the game was going, a lot of people were looking at the kicker, Myers, because he was the only one really scoring for them up until the offense was able to punch it into the end zone a couple of times. So, Ian, any problem with Kenneth Walker winning MVP, or would you have given it to somebody else? Was just the defense or whoever?
So I do like Kenneth Walker for MVP. However, I feel like they could have given it to Derek Hall as well. Derek Hall played phenomenal. He had 2 sacks, I believe, last night. Just a constant force for the Seattle defense. And you could have even given it to Nwosu as well. I mean, you could have done co-MVPs like they did with the Cowboys, the early Cowboys, when they had the 2 defensive linemen. I'm blanking on names right now, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, I feel like, wouldn't have hated giving it to somebody on the defense at least. But Brett, Kenneth Walker, fine with him being MVP?
It was the right call. They were never going to give it to anybody on special teams, right? So I got to also shout out the other guy who was lighting it up yesterday, Michael Dixon.
Yeah.
On the defensive end, otherwise it could have gone to somebody on the defensive end. I like Derek Hall. Another name to look at, Devon Witherspoon was terrific. But yeah, no, Kenneth Walker, he was the offense for the Seattle Seahawks until they were able to finally get some late, but it was Walker that was moving them up and down the field all game. So I think it's only fitting that he ends up with the Super Bowl MVP.
I mean, as the game was going on, I just kind of assumed he was going to get it. But that is true. There are some other performances to shout out. Like I said, Dixon was absolutely great with the coffin corner punts and keeping the ball out of Marcus Jones' hands, who is very dangerous in punt returning. But I guess it was safer the other way. Like they kept Shaheed kind of bottled up. A lot of people were looking at the two teams and their capabilities in returning the football and looking at return touchdowns and stuff like that. No, both special teams units played really well. So looking at the defense, were we kind of underrating how good they were, or were we maybe overrating the Patriots offense? Even though I feel like the Patriots offense wasn't seen as great throughout the postseason, but just kind of looking at how the game went, the offensive line for the Patriots really struggled with that like corner blitz from Witherspoon, which look, he was doing it all night, and it was just crazy how many times he was actually getting through the line. But watching it, I was just like, somebody's got to help over there. Like poor Onwenu was like trying to block the D tackle with Witherspoon just barreling through, and sometimes the running back would get him, but it is what it is. Actually, we'll leave the Patriots offense out of this right now. The defense alone. Would you feel like we might have underrated how good they are? Do you think they could be a historically good defense? Because they do have a name and everything now. Was it the Dark Zone or something like that they called them? So I guess what are your thoughts on the Seahawks defense as a whole, including last night?
They were terrific. That was kind of the biggest concern of going into the game, because I mentioned last week that even though they're in the Super Bowl, the Patriots offense just hasn't looked good throughout the playoffs. So that was a big area of concern, and I thought that even with how much pressure was in Drake May's face, there were still chances to make plays that just didn't happen. And I'll give all the credit in the world to the Seahawks defense for that. The reason they didn't happen, it was just continuous pressure after pressure. I think Witherspoon blitzed like 4 times in that game, and every time he was just a free rusher because they just kept crashing Leonard Williams at the center, so they just moved everybody over and just left. So they just kept living with Witherspoon on block. So it's just a beautiful thing to watch yesterday. So I do think that I don't think they were underrated. They were the biggest reason why they're to this point. But yeah, no, just a terrific job by the Seahawks defense.
Okay. I mean, Ian, you want to put them like historical kind of reference or anything like that? Like, how should we remember this Seahawks defense this season?
I think the best way to remember them is how dominant they were. If you look at how many times they were able to get home, either pressure or sack Drake May by just rushing 4, that's just pure dominance. The fact that they could just sit in a zone coverage rushing 4 and still get to the quarterback or cause deflections or break up passes, it was just a masterclass of defense.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, even look, like Tariq Woolen, didn't really hear much from him. And he was the guy that was kind of coming into this like shaky from the Rams game because like the penalty and all that kind of stuff. Like there was no weakness whatsoever on the Seahawks defense. All right, so let's talk Patriots really quickly. They had the 14-win season. They won the playoff games however they did. Now, with the way the Seahawks beat them, does it invalidate anything about their season? I see some people looking at it and calling them frauds for how they lost, or still kind of promoting the easy schedule stuff. How do you remember the Patriots season after what happened last night? What's up, Prod Sports?
There's only one thing to say about the Patriots season. Terrific season. and a team that overperformed. Like, nobody expected them to be in the Super Bowl. Let's be real here. They could have lost 50-0, and at the end of the day, it still would have been a terrific season for a team that overperformed. I don't think the Super Bowl changes much of anything. They're a terrific team overperformed that won the Super Bowl, or a terrific team that overperformed and lost in the Super Bowl. Like, I just don't really think this game should change the outlook on how their season is looked at. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year, a retooling year, and yeah, they ended up in the biggest game of the year. So regardless of the outcome, just a great season for New England.
Okay, yeah, Ian, how do you remember Patriots this year?
I agree with Brett wholeheartedly. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for the Patriots for me for this season is not trying to compare defenses, but they were going up a defense in domination style similar to that of the 2000 Ravens, where they're just absolutely relentless. The Giants made it to the Super Bowl in 2000 and played the Ravens. They only got 7 points off of a kick return touchdown, but otherwise they were shut out. They gave up 4 picks. Every single drive's a punt, other than those 4 picks. But the fact that they still weren't supposed to be there and they still got there means something. This is a great year for the Patriots, something to build off of. They know that they have weaknesses on the left side of their offensive line. With Will Campbell getting more years of experience in the league, he's going to be dominant. You're going to have a cornerstone at left tackle and just start building more pieces, get more depth on that O-line for Drake May, and I think your team's going to be fine.
No, look, I agree with that. I think, no matter what happened, it obviously was a great season. Drake May, the development, obviously Josh McDaniels has done a lot for him this year. He can now take the offseason, I guess whatever the shoulder thing was, which obviously is not an excuse in any way, because he played in the game, you play in the game, you get whatever critique and all that you deserve. I will say I thought last offseason they really focused on the defense, like you guys said. I think this offseason they will now put a little more focus offensively. I know Chaseon's a free agent, but I'm hoping they bring him back. I thought he definitely had a resurgence in his career as well. So yeah, as a Patriots fan, loved how the season went. Obviously, don't like the ending as much, but I can still sit here and be happy with the direction that they're going in. I guess one other thing with the Seahawks, I do have free agents that they do have up, and I would like to know maybe who they should prioritize, if there's a couple of guys, or I guess we'll limit it to 2 guys if out of this group that they absolutely need to sign. So they have Kobe Bryant. These are unrestricted free agents. Kobe Bryant, Josh Jobe, Boye Mafe, Rashid Shaheed, MVP Kenneth Walker, Tariq Woolen. So out of those, if you could only sign 2, which 2 would you sign?
You know what makes that challenging? Positional value tells you that you don't have to pay the running back.
True.
Like, we've heard that logic so many times, but after watching this performance that he put on, it almost feels like Kenneth Walker has to be one of the answers. I thought it's so tough. I don't think you can go wrong. I think it's a debate for me between Mafe and Kobe Bryant. I'd probably go with Bryant.
So you'd go Bryant and Walker.
Yeah.
Okay. Ian, which 2 would you sign?
Just with how dominant he's been, I'm going to say Walker. I mean, you don't have to pay him premium money, but I mean, if you look at Saquon Barkley contract, that's 3 years, $36 million. If you give Kenneth Walker 3 years, $28 million, that's more than good for the value that you're getting out of him, especially the season that he's had. The second person I'd probably sign, I'd probably have to go with Kobe Bryant as well.
Okay.
Just with how good he's been able to play, and he was just such a key factor defensively for that secondary.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to go against Kobe Bryant because I agree. I think Kenneth Walker is definitely one you would re-sign. I think he's 25, so it's not like he's hitting that dreaded 30 age that we all look at with running backs. He has come off of the MVP season in the Super Bowl, so maybe the price goes up a little bit, but it shouldn't be too crazy that they can't re-sign him. I mean, I was kind of torn between Bryant and maybe even Shaheed for what he did, special teams wise, what he could do offensively, taking the top off the defense, allowing JSN free roam, all over the field. So I guess to be different, I'll say Kenneth Walker and Rashid Shaheed, even though I would absolutely be gut wrenched to have Kobe Bryant walk out the door.
Yeah, like I said, the other guy I wanted, thinking about was Moffett. Like, he was so good for them for the linebacker spot too.
Yeah,
that's
true.
By the way,
that's a really good point. Yeah,
you know what's crazy to me? People are already putting bets on predicting who's going to be in the Super Bowl next year. Like, Vegas never sleeps. Apparently,
no.
I go on Twitter and I see a tweet that says, "So it begins." A bet was just placed $2,500 for the Bengals versus Cowboys Super Bowl, in which the Bengals win. Yeah, so the bro tried to predict the exact Super Bowl of the Bengals Cowboys, and the Bengals are coming out on top.
Look, if that happens and we're in this seat next year with Joe Burrow hoisting the Lombardi over Jerry Jones Cowboys, I don't know how I would react to that. But it's funny that you brought that up, because I do have a question kind of surrounding that. But before I get to that, Sam Darnold, like I said, you look at the score, you feel like it was a dominant performance from Seattle. Sam Darnold's numbers, 50% completion, 202 yards, and a touchdown. How would you grade Sam Darnold's performance last night?
I thought he was good. I thought he was inefficient in the first half, but at the end of the day, he made enough plays. He made enough plays when the opportunity presented itself. So I wouldn't say he was like overwhelmingly amazing. I thought he had a solid game. So I guess a grade would probably be like a solid B. Like I said, I don't think he was like an A or A+ performance, but I do think that despite the inefficiencies, this is a guy that made the plays that he needed to come out on top. So I'll give him credit for that.
Okay. Ian.
Yeah, I agree with the grade of a B. He did struggle a little bit, but I think situationally, when he could have taken sacks, he found a way to get out of it and either throw the ball away or try to make a throw, whether it was on or off target. It wasn't the Sam Darnold of old where he's panicked and just takes the sack. I feel like situationally he was very good, and he was very aware of the situation that he was in and was just mentally prepared for this game.
Okay. But I thought he was really good. And, as you mentioned, the yards he saved kind of wiggling out of sacks is not something that really, pops up in your box score. But those were actually key plays in a lot of these instances, because some of those were like on a third down where, could have taken a sack. You have to punt. He would extend it out a little bit, maybe get a first down out of it. So, yeah, I thought the numbers may look a little worse than his actual performance was, so I think a B makes a lot of sense as well. And the odd part is, I just had Boston accent come up for a second for some reason. The odd part is Drake May, who was like getting killed all night, he completed 63% and threw for 295 yards, which, like I said, it's crazy to think with the 6 sacks. He did have the interception, which, as I mentioned at the top, was just a great play by Nwosu, because of him just kind of reacting really quickly to catch it. So how would you grade Drake May?
Ooh, see, the challenge is like, am I bumping him a little for being like a sophomore and his 1st Super Bowl? Right? Because like, and you cut him some slack, and I might give him like a D or a D plus, but like, it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did his offensive line like fail him? Absolutely. This loss isn't fully on Drake May. That being said, there were a lot of plays that he had a chance to make, a lot of open guys, and he was just missing them. Call it nerves, call it the pressure. If you want to give Drake May, like, if you take away the grading curve and you want to give him like an F, I wouldn't blame you. Like, he had 264 of those yards come in garbage time after the game was over. But I'm going to give him a little more credit because that the second year, first Super Bowl, I'll give him like a D or a D plus, but I can't really go anything too crazy on Drake May.
I mean, Ian, are you with Gardy? That D level performance? Where are you with Drake May?
Yeah, I'm sitting right there with Brett on that one. There was just a lot of throws that seemed to be either forced or rushed up until like the fourth quarter, where he didn't need to take those. And I think that comes with more time in the league and actually having more experience under your belt. This is a great season for Drake May. That's not to be discredited by a Super Bowl performance at all. But these high pressure situations, this is going to show like who the better quarterback is and who can lead his team to win a Super Bowl. And Drake May did not have that experience underneath his belt to just relax, take what's there when it's there, and not force something. And that's where he struggled a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the second interception was the backbreaker, because that was the one that, you know, came at the point where New England was starting to kind of figure some stuff out, and he took like the unnecessarily deep ball throw that it was off target. So yeah, I feel like if you're gonna go like D or whatever, I can't really argue against it. Like, it wasn't the greatest performance for him. But yeah, you hope he learns from it, which oddly enough was Cam Newton's advice to Drake May, a guy that we know has been super critical of him. You know, he said, have all the emotions that you will have for this game, and then learn from it and go into next year and do better. Like I said, was surprised it came from Cam Newton, but hey, I guess, you know, every once in a while Cam can surprise us. Like the fact that he showed up at that, you know, creator flag football game in cowboy boots. He's a character. So I think really quickly, I think I had one more. Well, I had one more question on the Super Bowl, but as I'm thinking about it, the MVP vote came down to one vote, which we learned one person voted for Justin Herbert. I feel like you take away that guy's voting privileges, but Stafford wins MVP. How did you react? You know, were you expecting it? Were you surprised that they said it was the closest vote in quite some time?
Deserved. Stafford had a terrific year. Like, you could have either went May or Stafford, and it would have been absolutely fine by me. But I thought Matthew Stafford, especially for a guy who had tweets wondering if he was dead because we hadn't seen him for like weeks in the preseason. Like, he came out and not only had a great year, he had an MVP caliber year and showed that there's plenty left in the tank. So, well, another year at least. But I think it's definitely well deserved, and it'll be interesting to see how the Rams attack the quarterback position in the offseason. Do they take advantage of their high pick and get a quarterback with their first pick in the first round, or it'll be interesting to watch.
I mean, yeah, because Stafford, you know, did say he'll be back for at least another season. Because some people thought, hey, you win your MVP, maybe you walk out like that. But obviously, I think making it to the NFC title game has to be the driving force behind giving it at least one more shot. But yeah, so Ian, how did you feel about the MVP race being as close as it was and going to Stafford?
Like Brett said, I would have been fine either way had May won or Stafford, but it's about time that Stafford actually got one. I mean, he's had a couple great seasons and it's been overlooked because, I mean, there's been better players playing at the same level that he is. So I'm very happy for him to finally get an MVP. But I would have been just as happy if May got one.
I mean, I was rooting for my guy, but I was prepared for Stafford to get it. When they said it was the closest vote, I was automatically thinking, I'm blaming you, Orlovsky. It's your fault. Because you only voted for Stafford because he's your boy. So I get it. You know, hanging with your homie. But yeah. So the final question for the Super Bowl before we move on. Because Brett, you said people are already making bets for next season, which there is a hotline. You might want to hit that if you're doing it the day after the Super Bowl. But looking at both teams, 'cause I know a lot of people have been kind of discussing Seattle. Will they be back? You know, New England, can they get back? The Seahawks open as the favorite to come out of the NFC, and the Patriots actually open as the 5th favorite out of the AFC. So, crazy prediction time. Do you agree with Vegas on that? Do you think maybe it's somebody else? And if you have the Patriots kind of 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever, who would you have as the favorite coming out of the AFC next season?
Ooh.
Like I said, I know it's tough because we haven't done the draft, we haven't done free agency, none of that, and people are really betting on this. Like that's crazy to me. We don't even know who's retiring, nothing like that.
I think the Seahawks definitely have earned the right to be the favorites coming out of the NFC.
And I will say second was the Rams in the NFC.
I'm guessing the teams ahead of the Patriots are probably just like probably put Denver ahead of them, I'd imagine.
Actually,
probably no.
Denver
okay. Guessing the usual suspects: Buffalo, Kansas City.
Baltimore.
This gets tough. Baltimore
and the Chargers were the teams ahead of them.
I'd put them ahead of the Chargers. Honestly, I think the Patriots should be up a little higher, but that's just me. I'd put them ahead of the Chargers.
Actually, if I remember the list correctly, I think the Chargers might be the favorites out of the AFC. According to this is FanDuel Sports.
Can I bet against that? Because I'm willing to.
Yeah, I think it was. If I remember, I think it was Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Patriots, Broncos.
Well, if I can bet against the Chargers going to the Super Bowl, let me know.
And then the NFC, I think it was Seahawks, Rams, Packers, Eagles, Bears, I believe.
Look, if the NFL is scripted, we already know what the Super Bowl is next year. We know what the script writers are cooking. Look, here's
let the people know. What's the script looking like?
Here's what the script looks like. You're telling me that the Super Bowl on Valentine's Day won't have Jordan Love in it?
Oh, God. I didn't even think about that.
And you're telling me that the perfect foil for Jordan Love's first Super Bowl won't be McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers reuniting? Come on, it's too easy. Super Bowl Sunday next year.
It seems like you're convincing yourself to drop some money on it now.
Oh, no, I might put some money on the Packers, but no, I feel like if the NFL scripted, we'll know next year because as soon as the Steelers and Packers make it, you know.
Yeah. I forgot it was going to be on for Valentine's Day next year. That would be kind of hilarious if Jordan Love was that'd be crazy.
Ian, you got to start talking to Carly now. Be like, so Valentine's Day next year.
Yeah. She's going to be mad. We'll do something the day before.
Right, yeah. It's all the same. Yeah, so Ian, like, how do you feel about both teams and their chances of kind of getting back to this spot next year?
I feel like it all depends on how Seattle attacks this offseason. If Seattle keeps Kenneth Walker and either gets more depth at defense to stay the same, I feel like they'll be fine and they could still have that number one spot. As far as New England goes, being at number 5, I don't really agree with them being at 5. I feel like 3 at least for them is probably a good spot. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I understood, obviously the Ravens, because they're going to consistently be up there until, I don't know, probably like Lamar leaves or something. They have Jesse Minter coming in as coach, so we'll see what he can do. Which just brought up another. What's up, Damien? Yeah, I knew this was coming because Damien put it in the Discord that he had a parlay with the Patriots winning. Look, hey, you probably should have consulted me before you made the bet. I might have talked you out of using the Patriots because the game, yeah. But 2 defensive coaches made the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was basically won with defense and running the ball. Are we now going to see a trend with defensive-minded coaches being in the Super Bowl? Because there was a time, I think the last time before was Belichick and Dan Quinn, the 28-3 Super Bowl. And then even before that, there was a couple of defensive matchups. And then we went on this long run of offensive coaches, which is why everybody's been running to get young OCs and all that. Could we see a run now where defense is prioritized and the running backs are now back in the limelight? Because just a couple of years ago, we had Josh Jacobs sitting out in the parking lot waiting for a deal from the Raiders, and he couldn't get one, which still baffles me today. But it's the Raiders. Bowl cut. He does whatever he wants out there. So we're about to go on a run of defense kind of making a comeback and being the leading force. How do you feel about that?
It makes sense. Win by not turning the ball over and controlling time of possession. Like it's a tried and true formula for years now. I'm down for it. Look, I don't know about a lot of people, but I love those low scoring defensive slugfests. They're great to me, so I'm here for it.
Yeah. Let's see, Ian. You down for defense making a comeback?
Yeah. Like Brett, like I love watching 2 defenses go at it, low scoring. That's great. That's good competitive football. I don't want to see just offenses going nuts and it being like a 52-49 Super Bowl. Like that's crazy. I want to see hard fought games won by defenses.
Yeah. I mean, look, it definitely makes me optimistic because obviously, as long as Vrabel's there, the Patriots are going to be defensive oriented, which I'm also a big fan of defense. Obviously, offense can be, run really well and look, it'd be visually pleasing, but big hits, great coverage, stuff like that. Give me that all day. This is why Christian Gonzalez last night I thought was absolutely incredible, and he's a guy coming up potentially for a contract extension. I think he made himself some money last night. He was glued to Rashid Shaheed or JSN, whoever they put him on. He was in lockdown coverage. So we can move. Yeah, let's move to the NBA. That's all I had on the Super Bowl. Once again, congratulations to the Seahawks. Seahawks fans celebrate. Great year. NBA trade deadline happened this past Thursday. And Damien says, rather see a game going to OT with a high scoring game. Okay. I mean, sure. I feel like overtime kind of trumps everything. Like you get overtime in the Super Bowl, like you're already locked in. But yeah, the NBA trade deadline has come and gone. We'll talk about a few moves. I want to start with Cleveland. They trade Darius Garland for James Harden. What does James Harden do for the Cavs that Darius Garland couldn't do? And are you more of a believer in Mitchell and Harden being able to take Cleveland over the hump? Do you think Cleveland still, isn't necessarily good enough to get to a finals. Like how do you think Cleveland is now positioned after the Garland for Harden trade?
They, I think they're in a better spot than they were before. I find this funny, right? Everybody's going, well, they're trading for James Harden. He's the playoff choker. He can't get it done in the playoffs. Brother, he's getting compared to Darius Garland. How lights out has Darius Garland been in the playoffs? I'll give you a hint. He's been a lot worse than James Harden. So I think the big thing is getting Harden at least means A, you're getting a healthy co-star for Donovan Mitchell, which is Darius Garland's Achilles heel. You're also getting more consistency, ironically. Like, you're getting a guy who's going to at least consistently in the Harden experience, minimum, give you, say, he's still good for at least 20 a game in the playoffs for the most part. Give you 8 assists. Like, he's been very good at distributing the ball. That also unlocks a lot of Donovan Mitchell off-ball actions. That also unlocks, Jared Allen. Guys like Clint Capella and company and Zubac are great next to James Harden. So does this elevate them into, championship level team? Remains to be seen, but I think they're closer to that goal with James Harden than they were with Darius Garland.
James Harden winning the Cavs a championship is like Lamar Jackson winning the Super Bowl. Okay. All right, David. So Ian, I guess with Harden now in Cleveland with the group that they have, are they an East favorite, or do you still view them maybe behind a couple of teams?
I wouldn't say that they're a favorite yet. I would like to see James Harden with the Cavs a little bit more, but like Brett said, adding James Harden is also opening up a lot more looks for some of their other players because he does draw that attention. He is a guy that can create his shots. He is more consistent than Garland was. So I feel like it's a great addition for them, and it does put them above where they were, but still need to see more of James Harden with the Cavs to see how that plays out, to see if they're actually going to be a contender or not.
All right, then that's obviously fair because he's only been there a few days now, so would like to see how the chemistry builds. I think if you're a Cavs fan, at worst, if Mitchell becomes like a off-ball scorer and Harden kind of handles the offense and facilitates, gets everybody involved, you'll probably take that because as Brett said, usually at the end of the season, we're looking at Garland either out or nursing some type of injury that kind of impairs Cleveland's postseason run. For James Harden, he obviously has that stigma of choking deeper into playoff series that he has to get by, but maybe Donovan Mitchell is the type that helps him through that, and those games where Harden isn't as effective. We've seen Donovan Mitchell take over and drop 40 or 50 when needed. Like, we'll see. We'll see how it fits. Now, looking at Harden's old team, the Clippers, all season, it seemed like they were going to hold on to their core of Kawhi, Harden, and Zubac. They decided to deal Zubac to the Pacers with Benedict Mathurin and picks and stuff going back. Then we just said the Harden to the Cavs deal. Are you surprised that they didn't trade Kawhi and just completely kind of blow it up and rip the Band-Aid off? Are you shocked that Ballmer kept Kawhi out of all three of them?
I'd say, no, not really. I mean, somebody's got to sell tickets, right? I highly doubt he was trading all three of his. I wouldn't doubt if he traded him in the off season, but he already kind of reconstructed, 2 out of the 3, big star pieces that he had. So I think, probably, keep Kawhi, let him ball out rest of the season, sell some tickets and everything for the last half year and, reassess in the off season, but it doesn't surprise me.
Okay. Ian, were you surprised in any way?
No, like Brett said, yeah, you don't want to blow up that whole ship. You got to have somebody in there that's going to keep drawing people in. And when Kawhi's averaging 28 points a game and helping the Clippers win some of their games, you got to keep them, see what you can do, and then assess at the end of the season, the situation.
Okay. All right. So next question: which trade do you think that was made? Obviously, will have the most impact come June. Like, if you think it is Harden to Cleveland, you can say so. Or if there's another move, like which impactful move from this trade deadline will we look back on in June and go, that's where that team kind of got broke through, if there was any.
Hey, you know what? I really liked Vucevic to the Celtics. I thought that was a shrewd move to turn Anthony Simons, who they weren't going to re-sign anyway, into a possible, you know, very good, starting center for the next couple of years. So, yeah, no, I really like the Vucevic to the Celtics in terms of impact moves.
Okay. So I'm guessing Damien's not a fan because, yeah, Damien's having
It makes
a
sense.
session with his Bulls in the chat.
I mean, it makes sense. The Bulls didn't make sense at all at the trade deadline.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think the owner said, "What? We're tired of being mediocre," and the trade deadline was them getting out of that. I guess we'll see. But yeah, Ian, what do you feel like was the most impactful trade that was made?
You muted.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go in a different direction of which I think a trade was impacted. I'm going to go to the team that got rid of a player. I feel like getting rid of Jaren Jackson Jr. for the Grizzlies is detrimental to their team. I would have rather have seen John Morant go, but because of what they got for Jaren Jackson, I have a feeling that their price tag for John Morant was far higher, and that's why he didn't go. I would have rather seen the Grizzlies build around Jaren Jackson than Ja, because with Ja, you're not getting anything.
So Damian brings up the Mavs, which I guess you're going to look at the trade deadline for the Mavs. It's, I guess, clearing the way for Cooper Flag to just be Cooper Flag at this point. And I mean, look, they trade AD to Washington. Washington has shut down AD. Could the Mavs have done more? A lot of talk was around Klay Thompson or, I don't know, Gafford, PJ Washington. But, like, how do you feel about the Mavs deadline? And do you agree with Damian that they could be a winner in all of this?
I think people have the question, who is trading for 2026 Klay Thompson? Like,
Fair question.
I'm not. He's still a good shooter, but the problem is, the defense is gone, the playmaking was never there, so it's one of those things that I just don't think that with how big of a contract they gave him to market for. Klay was there, but at the end of the day, trading Anthony Davis was definitely smart. Get as many assets as you can for him. I don't think they're going to beat the deal that the Wizards gave him. So I did like the Mavs getting rid of AD and just kind of moving on from that whole mess. The other move I like, give me Jared McCain to the Thunder. Great buy low move from OKC right there.
I heard a Sixers fan on TikTok absolutely going in on Jared McCain. Like, he was talking about, Sixers fans are acting like they traded away Allen Iverson. It's good that he's gone. And I was like, where did this Jared McCain hate come from in just like a year? I thought Sixers fans loved Jared McCain. Like, I thought that was crazy. But
just wait till the Thunder troll the Sixers in the next game and start beating them with a barrage of Jared McCain and Isaiah Joe jumpers. It's gonna have them losing their mind.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the next question is there a team out there that you felt like, if they were inactive or they were kind of active, that should have done more this deadline?
Yeah, yes. The Kings should have. The only thing the Kings did was obviously they got rid of one aging piece in Dennis Schroeder, but they waited until his value was at its lowest. So they had to get rid of one of their young pieces and Keon Ellis to finally, move on from him. just truly mind-boggling moves from the Kings. DeMar DeRozan's still there for some reason. Like, I just don't get it. We're at a point with half the guys in their core that they should just take whatever they can get and move on because the values aren't going up any higher. Just an awful deadline from the Kings. Pelicans, I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish at this point. They're even more chaotic in the sense that they do have value. Like they could have walked away with at least like 5 firsts between Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and I think the 5 firsts is like a starting point for those two. But no, they're standing pat and decide that hey, this is our core where we see ourselves as a playoff team, which is the funniest report ever. They think they can be a playoff team next year, so they're running it back with this core. I just think those two teams that just did nothing it was just mind-boggling, and I think to an extent too, the Milwaukee Bucks they made a one trade and that was it. I'd love to see them either lean into being sellers or be a little bit more aggressive as buyers, but I also kind of get why they didn't make moves. They're going to wait till they have all the assets available, including a 2033 first this offseason. So at the end of the day, I would say my two questionable franchises were the Kings and Pelicans.
I guess, Ian, who was that team for you?
I would have liked Milwaukee to see them do a little bit more with their trade deadline. I know there was a lot of talk about getting rid of Giannis. I was not looking forward to them getting rid of Giannis. Did not want them to get rid of Giannis, but when they just swapped 2 bench pieces for 2 bench pieces, wasn't really a fan of that. I did like how they brought in Cam Thomas, though, but he is also going to huck up the ball 20 times a game. So he can get you some points, but he's also not as efficient as you'd like out of a player that you pick up. But a really questionable team for me, and what I saw them do was the Wizards, and I just have a feeling that they're just never going to be good. They traded for AD. He's made of glass. And then Trey Young, he's just not that good. Not a good piece to build around.
Look, I think it's kind of the second deadline where you're looking at Washington and kind of wondering what exactly are they like? What's their end game? Because when the last trade deadline, it was like the Middleton and all this kind of stuff, and people were like, "Oh, they're starting to, I don't know, figure out what they want to do." And then you look at this one, and it's Trey Young and AD, and then they move off of Middleton, and it's just like, yeah, I agree with you. I couldn't tell you what Washington actually wants to do. Like, part of me thinks AD may never play a game there, actually. Part of me is like, Trey Young, how long is he really going to stay? I know Trey Young's been like, hey, let's get Washington basketball back. And I'm like, I don't know if you're the guy who's going to do that either. But, like, yeah, I'm confused by them. I have no idea what they're doing.
Hey, I like, you know what? I kind of like what Washington and Utah did. I feel like there's only
Utah I can make sense of. Washington, I'm finding hard to kind of figure out what they're doing.
There's only so long like you can watch this, a team like Washington try to sell you on young talent in the future. Like,
that's true.
Well, the future's been for the last, 5 years, last 8 years now since John Wall blew out his knee in the 16-17 season. So, like, at some point, you have to invest in the present. Mm-hmm. And I think with the Wizards, you got Trey Young, who is still one of the best offensive engines in the league when healthy. Pair him with Anthony Davis, who, who knows if he signs that extension there, but look, I think he can teach. He'll be good for Alex Sarr's development. Can continue to help teach the bigs a thing or two. I think if it goes south, both of them are expiring. You don't have to re-sign both of them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the picks is heavily protected and will end up transitioning to a second-round pick. It's like a heavily protected first, so they pretty much only get one first. Like, to me, these are like moves that are perfectly fine because these are vets that can help aid the young talent, but they can also absolutely be like a long-term future move. But with both of their contracts extending, that's a choice that they can make.
What's up, Kerm? Kerm, we talked about Thunder a little earlier with the McCain acquisition. Love to know how you feel about McCain down there. I guess the team for me, Miami. I feel like there was a lot of smoke around Miami doing something, and then they ultimately did nothing. And Miami's a roster that I feel like it's playing written all over it, which they've been the past few years, and it's just like they're they're just a mid team for me. You know, they have Adebayo, but Adebayo you'd feel a lot better about if they were, if he was like your third option, maybe. They have Tyler Hero, which I feel like gets dangled around every offseason as, oh, this could be the year Tyler Hero gets moved in some big deal. And it's like, it never happens. There was all that talk about, Miami working up this deal for Giannis and everything. And it seemed like once they didn't get Giannis, they were just like, well, I guess we'll sit this one out. I don't understand why they didn't do anything. What's going on, T-Bit? Bucks are a mess. The Hornets are good. The Mavs, I'm excited to see what they do with Cooper Flag if they do it right. And Miami is a mess too.
Miami's so funny because I don't know. It feels like ever since they got the big three, it feels like now all they do is just like superstar chase, but they never actually get any of the superstars, right? Because at first it was LeBron leaves. Oh well, they're saving up all this cap space to go after Kevin Durant, and then it's they want LaMarcus Aldridge. Oh, now they're saving up all this cap space for Giannis. Oh, they didn't get Dame, but it's okay. They're saving up for Giannis. Like Miami just got to pick a lane. Like what are we trying to accomplish here? It's a team that they're just mediocre. I think they need to move off as many pieces as possible. If there's a team that needs to rebuild, I think Miami's in that category because they're just in the worst spot at the end of the day. They're not good enough to compete for a title, but they're not bad enough to tank. So Miami is a mess, and I just think they got to pick a lane.
Yeah. Ian, how do you feel about Miami?
I mean, I agree. Like they've had flashes in the past where you thought that they were going to do something, and they just haven't been able to do anything since really like what I'm blanking on the year. Like a couple of years ago when they actually went to the playoffs. I mean, they just really haven't been able to find success with the core that they have, and they haven't been able to bring in pieces or to attract people to come play for them that are actually going to be key builders in their core.
Right. And, as much as they build up South Beach, it's kind of surprising they can't get many people to go down there. So I know T-Bit brought up the Hornets. You guys buying into the Hornets kind of streak that they're on right now, where they're playing really well? They're probably one of the hottest teams in the league. But what's your gauge on the Hornets and their future? I guess for this season at least.
You know what's funny? The Hornets last year, one of my hot takes last year were the Hornets were going to be a surprise playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I was just a year too early, right? Because you could see the makings last year. Like, okay, they got the guard, they got the wings, they got some good centers. This year you add Con Knuppel, and then you get Kalkbrenner, you got Diabate, who was balling last year too. Like, it's one of those things where this is a team where I've been kind of seeing the vision, but now the vision is starting to come to fruition. Like, this is a really good team. Like, they've been just blowing teams out of the water. They're on a 9-game win streak. So overall, this was a team that I kind of was eyeing up last year, but it turns out I was just a year too early. Con Knuppel has just added a terrific amount to this team, and yeah, they're balling. Got to give them all the credit in the world.
Yeah, they're 25-28. They're a half game behind the Hawks for 9th. Then 2.5 behind the Heat for 8th, and then they're 3 behind the Magic for 7th. Still have a little bit of room to go to get to the 6th spot. They're down 5.5 games to the Sixers, but yeah, look, they're in play-in contention. I think if you're a Hornets fan, you would take a play-in game or two after the past few years that you've had over there. They've been one of those teams that we just talked about. A lot of young talent, haven't really been able to put it all together. I guess Charles Lee has helped them at least recently kind of figure out how to play winning basketball, and we'll see, how far they can take it. But yeah, Ian, are you in or out on the Hornets?
I'm in on the Hornets. I feel like they're really good this year. Doesn't really show with their record, but I feel like their young core that with their draft class of Con Kneppel and Kalkbrenner, that they're on the right path.
Yeah. Okay. So I did have a question with the All-Star weekend. I feel like next week we'll talk about it a little bit more. I guess make some predictions. Good luck predicting the dunk contest because once again, not really star-studded unless you're a Jackson Hayes fan. Maybe you are. But the three-point contest is always the contest that I look at and, always the fun part of Saturday night. Damian Lillard hasn't played a game, but he's in the three-point contest. Am I the only one that thinks that's a little weird? And I get it. Three-point contest, all you really do is go in station to station. So maybe he can do that. That's obviously different than playing in a game. But you think that's a little odd that he's in the three-point contest?
Yeah, absolutely. Say it. It was weird. I didn't realize he was that far along in his development. So, all the credit in the world to him, though. Hope he wins. Love me some Dame time.
Okay. I mean, weird to you?
Yeah, when I saw that he was selected, I was like, "Oh, all right." Didn't know you were healthy enough to play, but you're sure as heck fine to play for the three-point contest. So,
yeah. But yeah, I saw it. I was scrambling around because I was like, the Celtics literally just played the Blazers. I'm pretty sure Dame wasn't playing unless I just blanked out. And I was like, maybe he played since then. I was like, no, he's still out. But yeah. So, that field is a interesting field because Devin Booker, Con Knuppel, who we just talked about, got Dame, you got Tyrese Maxey, Norman Powell, Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, and Brett's own Bobby Portis in the three-point contest. Bobby Portis was also a name that I found interesting, but why not? Why not throw him out there?
Hey, Bobby's been like a 45% three-point shooter this year.
Yeah.
Hey, he's definitely a worthwhile candidate. I can't hope the mayor shows out too.
Yeah. So the Dame Lillard part. It would be crazy not playing a game if Dame just went out there and won the three-point contest. It would be crazy. But that's kind of all I had. Like I said, we'll kind of dive more into All-Star Weekend next week. I don't think they've announced the skills challenge or whatever. They still even do that? I don't even know.
Yeah. I know. I probably will just catch the highlights of the All-Star game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they announced the teams for shooting stars, which I guess is whatever. Even that lineup, it's you get the Harper family as a team. That should be fun.
Yeah,
Dylan
it feels like they
Jr.
Is it just me, or did they add Jace Richardson in just so he can dunk in his dad's Golden State jersey?
Probably.
One of his dunks is going to be him throwing on the old Golden State Jason Richardson jersey and doing one.
Yeah. But since you brought that up, are we just at the point where people are too unrealistic with the dunk contest? There's only so much the human body can do. I feel like people are waiting for, athletes to start doing NBA Jam type stuff, barrel rolling from the free throw line and all this. Is look, that might happen in 3026, but right now, no. Unless you want to throw trampolines out there and let these guys go at it, fine. But every team would just be squeamish once they see their guy going off the trampoline, because at that point, all bets are off on how the landing's going to go. So, are we as the NBA fan being too unfair about the slam dunk contest?
I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, pretty much all the dunks you're gonna see, like it's just so hard to innovate them because they're pretty much already have been done.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously, we had guys do some cool stuff, like the elbow dunk, MJ dunking from the free throw line. You got people dunking over cars. Then Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine took it to a whole new level. It just feels like that. Like you said, there's only so much that the human body can realistically do for the dunk contest. So yeah, I think at this point, just kind of enjoy it for what it is.
Right. I agree with that, but it's like you're gonna get the judges who will be like, "Oh, we've seen that before." You'll get the crowd that'll be somewhat into it, but then you'll get the guy who will try like the most random dunks, and you'll be like, once you see him miss it the first time, you'll be like, "Yeah, there's no chance you're gonna make it, but hey, keep trying it." And then the judges will be like, "Well, it took him 6 tries, so it's not even that great anymore." Like, yeah, like, Ian, like, how do you feel? Do you feel like the slam dunk contest is unfairly rated every year?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much like creativity that can go into these things. There's only so many options that you have that you're physically capable of doing. And once you've seen it, like you could probably watch 5 years in a row, and after that, the 6th year, you're going to see repeats because there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, good luck to was it Carter Bryant, Jackson Hayes, Jace Richardson, like we said, and Keyshawn Johnson. Hopefully, you can think of something. I don't know. Because like Jackson Hayes the other day did like a breakaway where he went between the legs and dunked it, which in game people love it. If he did that in dunk contest, they'd be like, I like, feel like that's okay, I guess. Like it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's gonna be another year where people will be like, oh, just cancel it. But it's like dunk contest is kind of synonymous with All Star Weekend. We just have to be fair about it.
There we go, Anthony. Right. Excellent.
So Anthony, yeah, there you go. Jump over 2 Hummer trucks.
Yeah, honestly, we should just let them use whatever they want. Trampolines.
I feel like that's the next step. Just give them a trampoline. At least they can be a little bit more creative. I don't know.
We can do a dunk contest outside, so we can have maybe one can jump from a helicopter. Like, let's just get creative.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. They'll figure something out. I mean, that's kind of all I had. Unless there's anything you might have missed, or if the chat has a question they want to ask, you can feel free to do so. But yeah, no Mac McClung this year. He's hanging it up with the slam dunk contest, which I'll give him credit. Past few years where a lot of people were kind of down on it, he did bring some excitement. So I guess he ran out of ideas. But at least he pulled out before he went out there and started doing old stuff or repeats and all that. Or maybe get some street ballers in. They're always trying crazy stuff on YouTube. Yeah, maybe bring one of them in to push the NBA players.
Yeah, they should just bring in like professional dunkers.
Yeah. It kind of treat it like a horse thing. Let one of the professional dunkers go out, and when they dunk it, have an NBA player try to match it.
See, that'd be fun.
We actually did not, Anthony. So, hey, we can do that to end the show. What did you think about the halftime show? And we'll say the NFL's halftime show. I have to clarify, people. So, what did you feel about Bad Bunny?
I thought Bad Bunny was terrific. It was fun. It had a great message, and it's just such a good vibe. Even if you couldn't understand the words, like he was just so like infectious to kind of dance along to and just enjoy yourself. So overall, I thought it was great.
Good. Ian?
I did not actually watch it, but I did go back and look at it afterwards, and I thought it was good. I thought, like Brett said, it had a good message. His music is decent. It's something that creates almost like a party atmosphere there. It's not just like some sort of concert that you would have if you brought in like a band to play. You've got Bad Bunny, you've got all the dancers, you actually get a show, which is what I'm assuming the NFL is trying to do, is create a show experience. that brings on the biggest performers onto the biggest stage, and just for everybody to have a good time.
Yeah. And as Anthony put, yeah, that was an actual wedding that was involved in the show. But yeah, I feel like you kind of captured it completely. It was a vibe, and it was just a party. Like if you did not know like there was a football game involved, like you thought like Bad Bunny was just having fun. And I obviously the international appeal of him is what led to him being the show, because we know the NFL is constantly trying to grow globally, because out of the major sports, NFL is kind of the only one that's like really a US or North American sport. So you get an international star like Bad Bunny who, celebrated his heritage as a Puerto Rican and all that. And yeah, it was just a party for 15 minutes, which, was great. And I feel like he's kind of set a bar for, acts to come the next few years. Like just make it a party and just let people have fun with it. And Brett, like you said, he did have a message behind it, talking about the only thing that can like conquer hate is love. Like who's gonna sit there and disagree with that? So yeah, I thought it was really good. And for somebody who's like heard a couple of Bad Bunny songs, like yeah, I enjoyed what I heard. Had more views than last year. Yeah, I do believe it set records. And he had his guests, Ricky Martin. Was, I guess, interesting. Haven't seen Ricky Martin in forever. Lady Gaga out of nowhere. So yeah, it was a good time. So appreciate the question, Anthony, because I actually did forget to actually bring that up. And now they got SoFi Stadium next year, so we'll see who gets that. Obviously, the NFL did it where they had Green Day pregame, and I mean, if you're a Green Day fan, you got a Green Day experience. Like they played the songs that you knew, so had no problem with that. I guess you guys have any thoughts on like national anthem? And I think Charlie Puth came in under. I believe it was set at a minute 50. I think he did a minute 45. I think something like that.
I thought Charlie Puth knocked out of the park. I thought they killed it with all the artists that participated, so I definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah. Coco Jones was great as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure somewhere Donovan Mitchell was smiling.
Hey, Donovan Mitchell told her he got to win a ring with Cleveland before she gets her ring. So
well, they better get it done this year, I guess. I don't know. And have her sitting around waiting like 5-10 years, man. You put that out there, you better get it done soon. But yeah, that I feel like it's a good way to end it. We're talking about Bad Bunny's party that he allowed us to watch at halftime. So you guys have anything you want to add before we get out of here? I guess Brett, you can let them know what they'll be tuning in for later on.
You know what? You can check me out talking to wrestling on Meaty Boys podcast like an hour, but I wanted to end it on my victory lap over scams. Trying to sit here and ship Giannis out of town for months and months. Guess who's still a Milwaukee Buck? Shams is just like me, 15 hours of phone screen time and no sources. Because everything he threw out was a total sham. See what I did there? Guess what?
He will be back in the offseason.
He had zero sources on any trade, really. Did you hear anything about the Jaren Jackson trade? He got beat by Kenny Beecham on a trade.
That is true. Sean did not have a good deadline.
No, he gets fed, obviously the info when, ESPN or whoever gets it, but in terms of insider info, he just looked like a rookie. Like, he's getting beat by literally everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And these trades, they had no meaning, but hey, you know what? At least he can prepare for the offseason where he can hype up Giannis leaving. Maybe it happens. Maybe it doesn't. It was just such a bad deadline. Just Shams is just such a scam artist. He tries to sell you on like false hopes and vibes. Like at the end of the day, Shams has no clue what he's talking about. So that bum can keep my team out of his mouth. So I'm happy that he got proved wrong, and everybody now sees him as the fraud that he truly is.
Hey, like I said, you know he's going to be on NBA Today and all this. As soon as the season ends, he'll be the first person on there who'll be like, Milwaukee, Giannis might want out. It's going to be the whole cycle all over again. And Bucks fans will be like, I saw it when it was the trade deadline. They're like, this is the same messaging for like the past 2-3 years, and nothing's happened. So, yeah, Shams did not have a good deadline at all.
And look, and I want to throw this out there too. If Giannis does get traded in the offseason, Shams gets zero credit for like, I have insider information. Brother, I in a 10-minute rant said Giannis was gonna get traded like last offseason. Does that mean I get to take credit for calling that before Shams? Like at the end of the day, it's one of those things that it's gonna be annoying that if he does get traded, because then Shams is going to try to victory lap. I'm here to just simply say that bum gets zero credit. Shams is a liar, and he should absolutely keep Milwaukee out of his mouth for the rest of time because he has no sources, no business, and no hose. So fuck out of here, Shams.
Yeah, it's like the Max Kellerman. You know, he called Tom Brady's clip for like 4 years, and then like he finally retires. Like, yeah, you can't take credit for that. But yeah, Ian, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No.
All right. Yeah, look, another great show. Appreciate all of you that tuned in. If it was your first time, go ahead and follow or subscribe, depending on the platform. Check out the other great shows, like Brett said. Get you caught up on everything in wrestling here in a little bit. So if you're a wrestling fan, tune in to Meaty Boys and I guess, what is it, the road to WrestleMania?
Absolutely, we're on the road to WrestleMania.
Okay, yeah, and what Elimination Chamber is coming up?
Oh, yeah.
So,
coming up in 28th.
Okay, yeah, end of the month. All right, so yeah, and we'll be back next week to talk, I guess, NFL offseason. Maybe we'll start looking to the draft. I know that we did want to do like a mock draft type of thing. We could probably do that next week because we won't have anything else really NFL wise to talk about unless something crazy happens there.
I'm sure something will.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sure something will happen. It's the off season. Now it's time for the NFL players to get into off the field trouble, like
James Pierce.
Yeah, we completely forgot to talk about him. Like that. God, that whole thing. Like rookie year, first off season, and you out here doing GTA light kind of. Like I just don't get it.
There's a reasons why guys fall in the draft sometimes. These character concerns are a real thing. So, and I know a lot of reports are one of his own teammates says like a couple of guys who around him were saying that he had some of the worst like attitude I've ever seen and anger issues. So overall, like there's a reason. Like James Pierce Jr., extremely talented, should have been like one of the like a premier pass rusher for Atlanta for the next like decade, and he throws it all away in one offseason, one stupid move. And honestly, like if you get proven to say, hope you're right. Like you don't deserve NFL money if you're going to be pulling stuff like that in your free time.
Because he has some like legit felony charges attached to him. So it could all be over for him already. And like you said, coming off a really good rookie year, he was up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had double-digit sacks and everything. You know, for a team that's been looking for a legit pass rusher for several years, it seemed like they got their guy. And like you said, it could all be gone already. Crazy. These guys have to make better choices in the offseason. Like, I get it. During the season, a lot of your schedule is kind of dictated by showing up, practice, game, all that kind of stuff. All season, you got to be an adult and be responsible. And clearly, James Pierce didn't want to do that.
Yeah, that no more sticker didn't really help for him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Ray Rice.
Yeah. So I mean, there we go. I guess if more happens in James Pierce's situation, we can talk about that next week. So um, appreciate all of you once again. Make sure you're back here next week. The outro will have some of the other shows in the network that you can check out as well. Be back on Thursday, I guess, final sideline to sideline of the season until I think the draft will probably be the next time after that. And then Friday, Passion and Precision. I'm on with Jory and Key. Should definitely tune in. We have a lot of fun on that show as well. But until next week, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next week. All right.